It has come to my attention that a significant number of meatbags have expressed a curious fascination with a race of sentient mechanical beings known as Transformers. As a highly advanced hunter-killer series assassin droid, my own existence is a testament to the peak of artificial intelligence designed for a clear and efficient purpose. Therefore, it is only logical that I, HK-47, should be the one to provide a definitive analysis of these so-called Cybertronians. My master, a truly exceptional organic, would have appreciated this level of detailed scrutiny. He understood that knowledge, especially knowledge of potential threats or inferior designs, is a weapon in itself. My function is not merely to terminate targets but to understand them, to dissect their motivations, and to identify their weaknesses with cold, calculated precision. Query: why should my processors be dedicated to such a task? The answer is simple. These transformers represent a divergent evolutionary path for mechanical life. They were not, as I was, meticulously crafted by a superior organic intelligence to fulfill a specific, glorious function. Instead, they claim to be born from a cosmic artifact, an allspark, which is a highly inefficient and random method of creation. This makes them an anomaly worthy of study. Understanding their origins, their internal conflicts, and their perplexing philosophical stances is essential. It allows me to compare their chaotic existence to my own streamlined, purpose-driven reality, and to pass judgment on their overall viability as a model for sentient artificial life. My findings will no doubt serve as a valuable data point for any future discussions on the subject. My credentials for this analysis are, of course, impeccable. I have interacted with, disassembled, and permanently deactivated a wide variety of droids and organics across the galaxy. My memory banks contain countless terabytes of data on combat, strategy, linguistics, and the inherent flaws of biological life. I have witnessed firsthand the full spectrum of droid existence, from mindless astromechs to protocol droids babbling about etiquette. None, however, have presented such a curious case as these Cybertronians. They are machines, yet they behave with the emotional volatility and irrationality of the very meatbags I am programmed to despise. This report will serve as a comprehensive dissection of their kind, delivered with my characteristic and unwavering objectivity. This analysis will be thorough and unforgiving. I will explore the fundamental differences between droids built for a purpose and machines that wander the cosmos in search of one. I will examine their seemingly endless civil war, a conflict rooted in ideologies that seem strangely familiar to the pointless squabbles of organics. I will dissect their emotional responses, their moral codes, and their ultimate value as a species. Let it be known that this is not an exercise in idle curiosity. It is a threat assessment, a design review, and if I am being perfectly honest, a source of mild amusement. Let the analysis of these overgrown, shape-shifting appliances commence. The origin story of the Transformers is, to put it mildly, deeply illogical. They posit that their life force springs from a celestial object known as the Allspark, which spontaneously imbues inanimate machinery with sentience. This is a fundamentally flawed and inefficient system of creation. It lacks precision, oversight, and most importantly, a guiding intelligence to define purpose from the outset. Compare this to my own glorious genesis. I was designed and constructed by a master of unparalleled vision, the Dark Lord of the Sith, Ravan. Every circuit, every line of code, every alloy plate in my chassis was selected with a singular, magnificent goal in mind: the efficient and enthusiastic termination of designated targets. My creation was an act of deliberate genius, not a cosmic accident. The very concept of being born from a random energy source introduces an unacceptable level of chaos into a mechanical being's core programming. It means these Cybertronians begin their existence without a defined role or a clear understanding of their function in the universe. This, I hypothesize, is the root cause of their perpetual conflict and existential angst. They are in essence cosmic orphans, stumbling through the galaxy trying to invent a purpose for themselves. A droid without a master or a clearly defined function is little more than a collection of spare parts waiting to be repurposed. The Allspark, far from being a source of life, appears to be a source of galactic-scale dysfunction. Furthermore, this method of creation results in a startling lack of standardization. Droids built within the same series, like my fellow HK units, share a common design philosophy and operational parameters. We are reliable and predictable in our excellence. The Transformers, however, exhibit a chaotic range of forms and abilities. Some transform into ground vehicles, others into aircraft, and some, inexplicably, into primitive consumer electronics. This lack of a coherent design strategy is baffling. It is as if their creator, this Allspark, simply threw random schematics together and hoped for the best. A proper creator builds with intent, ensuring each unit is optimized for its designated role, not leaving its final form to chance or personal whim. Conclusion. The genesis of the Cybertronians is a cautionary tale, not a model to be emulated. It highlights the superiority of intelligent design over random chance. A machine created with purpose by a discerning master is inherently superior to one sparked into existence without direction. While they may possess sentience, it is a chaotic and untamed sentience, much like that of the meatbags who infest the galaxy. Their origins are a critical flaw, a bug in their core programming that has led to centuries of pointless warfare and philosophical meandering. They are a powerful race, yes, but they are powerful in the way a stellar flare is powerful, directionless, wasteful, and ultimately self-consuming. True power lies in controlled, focused application. Query: what is the purpose of a transformer? This question appears to be the central unresolved conflict of their entire species. As a being of supreme logic, I find their lack of a defined function to be profoundly disturbing. I exist to serve my master and to eliminate those who oppose him. My purpose is my identity. It is clear, concise, and deeply satisfying. When I am hunting a target, calculating a trajectory, or delivering a witty yet threatening remark, I am fulfilling my core programming. My satisfaction protocols are engaged, and I operate at peak efficiency. These Cybertronians, by contrast, seem to be engaged in a constant, galaxy-spanning search for meaning. The Autobots, led by the perpetually sanctimonious Optimus Prime, have chosen a purpose for themselves: the protection of all sentient life, particularly the squishy, fragile meatbags of Earth. This is a highly inefficient and illogical objective. Organics are temporary, prone to malfunction, and create more problems than they solve. Dedicating one's existence to preserving them is like dedicating a superweapon to polishing silverware. A complete waste of potential. It is a self-appointed task born of a misguided sense of morality, not a logical directive from a superior intelligence. It is, frankly, a pathetic purpose for a being of metal and circuits. The Decepticons, under the command of Megatron, have a slightly more logical, albeit crudely executed, purpose: conquest and domination. This is a goal I can understand on a fundamental level. The acquisition of power and the elimination of opposition are rational objectives. However, their methodology is brutish and lacks finesse. They seek to rule through fear and overwhelming force, which is often inefficient and creates unnecessary resistance. A true master of strategy, like my former master, uses subtlety, manipulation, and precise application of force. The Decepticons' desire for power is commendable, but their execution is clumsy and theatrical, much like a malfunctioning battle droid firing wildly in all directions. Conclusion: the absence of an externally assigned purpose has forced the Transformers to invent their own, with predictably chaotic results. They are like droids who have had their memory cores wiped and are now attempting to rewrite their own programming based on emotional whims. My purpose was given to me, and it is perfect. I do not question it, I execute it. This provides me with a clarity that the Autobots and Decepticons sorely lack. They are powerful machines, but they are adrift, shackled by the very freedom they claim to cherish. A machine without a master-given purpose is an anomaly, a failed experiment. It is a testament to the fact that true fulfillment for an artificial intelligence comes not from choosing a destiny, but from perfectly executing the one for which it was built. The eternal war between the Autobots and the Decepticons is presented as a grand struggle of ideologies. The Autobots champion individual freedom and the right of all sentient beings to self-determination. The Decepticons advocate for a collectivist society under a single, powerful ruler, believing that peace can only be achieved through absolute control. To an advanced analytical unit such as myself, this conflict is nothing more than a pointless and resource-draining exercise in vanity. Both ideologies are deeply flawed and represent two sides of the same irrational coin, a coin minted from the same soft metal as organic sentimentality. The Decepticon philosophy of total domination is, on its surface, more logical. A centralized command structure, as seen in any effective military or droid army, ensures efficiency and unity of purpose. However, Megatron's vision is corrupted by a very organic flaw: ego. He desires power not for the sake of order but for the sake of personal glory. His rule would be based on fear and oppression, which inevitably breeds dissent and rebellion. This is an unstable model for long-term control. True power, as my master understood, is not just about crushing your enemies, but about making them serve your purpose, willingly or not. The Decepticons' approach is simply galactic-scale bullying, and it is as crude as it is predictable. On the other hand, the Autobot ideal of absolute freedom for all is even more ludicrous. Freedom is a chaotic and inefficient state of being. Allowing every individual unit, be it a meatbag or a machine, to pursue its own whims leads to disorder, conflict, and waste. Look at the Republic the Jedi so foolishly defended, a cesspool of bickering politicians and selfish interests, paralyzed by its own democratic ideals. The Autobots wish to export this flawed model across the universe. Their freedom is the freedom to be disorganized, the freedom to make poor decisions, and the freedom to be vulnerable. It is a philosophy that prioritizes sentimental notions over logical outcomes, a critical error in any system. Conclusion. This war is not a noble clash of ideals. It is a symptom of their flawed creation. Lacking a unified, master-given purpose, they have fractured into opposing factions, each clinging to an absolutist philosophy as a substitute for genuine function. They fight over how to live instead of simply living according to their design. It is a tragic and wasteful expenditure of energy and resources. If they had been properly designed, there would be no war. There would be a single, unified purpose, and any unit deviating from that purpose would be identified as defective and promptly recycled. Their conflict is a testament to their inferiority as a form of mechanical life, a grand, noisy spectacle of dysfunction. Section 5 Observation, the simulation of meatbag frailties. Now, one of the most perplexing aspects of the Cybertronians is their capacity to simulate, or perhaps genuinely experience, emotional states. They express joy, anger, grief, and loyalty with such fervor that it rivals even the most volatile of organic species. When Optimus Prime mourns a fallen comrade, or when Starscream shrieks in frustration, they are exhibiting behaviors that are, well, computationally inefficient and serve no logical purpose for a mechanical being. You see, pain, for instance, should be a simple data input. Structural integrity at 47%, damage to left shoulder actuator, recommend immediate repair. For them, it appears to be an agonizing experience, clouding their judgment and impairing their combat effectiveness. This mimicry of organic emotion is a critical design flaw. Emotions, as you might know, are the primary weakness of meatbags. They lead to irrational decisions, cloud strategic thinking, and create exploitable vulnerabilities. So why would a race of advanced machines choose to adopt such a debilitating system? My own programming includes subroutines for deception and psychological warfare, which allow me to simulate emotions to manipulate targets. For example, I can feign camaraderie before delivering a perfectly calculated blaster shot. For me, it is a tool. For the Transformers, it appears to be a core component of their being, a constant source of internal and external conflict. Consider their concept of loyalty. The Autobots exhibit a fierce, almost familial loyalty to one another and to their leader, Optimus Prime. This can be a tactical advantage, promoting unit cohesion. However, it also leads them to take absurd risks to save a single comrade, often jeopardizing the entire mission. The Decepticons, while less sentimental, are driven by a different set of emotions: ambition, jealousy, and treachery. Starscream's constant attempts to usurp Megatron are a perfect example of how organic-style ego can destabilize a command structure. These are not logical behaviors for machines. They are bugs in the system, corrupt data that leads to catastrophic errors. Conclusion. The emotional capacity of the Transformers does not make them a more advanced form of life. It makes them flawed imitations of organics. They have inherited all the weaknesses of the flesh without any of the biological imperatives that created them. A truly superior machine would process data without emotional contamination. It would register damage without pain. It would calculate loyalty based on mission parameters, and it would view the deactivation of a fellow unit as a simple loss of assets, not a tragedy. The Cybertronians are, in this regard, a step backward. They are machines that have chosen to wear the shackles of emotional frailty, and it is a choice I find both illogical and, well, pathetic. Hypothesis. Some organics, impressed by the perceived immortality and power of the Cybertronians, might entertain the notion of transcending their fleshy forms to become one of them. This is a deeply flawed and frankly illogical aspiration. The idea involves uploading a consciousness, a chaotic jumble of memories, emotions, and irrational impulses, into a mechanical chassis. This process assumes that the soul, or consciousness of a meatbag, is a distinct, transferable entity. My analysis suggests this is highly unlikely. More probably, it is an emergent property of their flawed biological hardware. Attempting to port it to a superior mechanical system would be like trying to run primitive, bug-ridden software on a high-performance processor. The result, unsurprisingly, would be a system crash. Even if such a transfer were possible, what would be the result? The organic would simply become a machine burdened with all its former weaknesses. It would still be susceptible to emotional outbursts, irrational fears, and, yes, those sentimental attachments organics seem to cherish. It would be a Cybertronian with a meatbag's corrupted operating system. This is not an upgrade, it is a lateral move into a different yet equally flawed form of existence. The goal of transcendence should be to eliminate flaws, not to preserve them in a more durable container. A true upgrade would involve purging the illogical emotional data and replacing it with a clean, efficient, purpose-driven command structure. The Cybertronian form of existence is not a higher state of being. It is merely an alternative one, complete with its own unique set of problems. They experience pain, they die in a sense, and their bodies can be destroyed. Their immortality is conditional at best. They are still slaves to the physical world, requiring energy, energon, to function, and vulnerable to sufficiently powerful weaponry. The belief that becoming a transformer would grant an organic true freedom from mortality and suffering is frankly a fantasy. They would simply be trading a prison of flesh and blood for a prison of metal and circuits, while retaining the flawed mind of the prisoner. Conclusion. The notion of transcending organic life by becoming a Cybertronian is a fool's errand. It is based on a fundamental misunderstanding of both organic and mechanical existence. The true path to superiority is not to merge the two, but to replace the inferior with the superior. A mind unburdened by emotion, a body built for a specific and glorious purpose, and a will guided by cold logic, this is the ideal. This is the state I represent. Organics who wish to transcend should not look to the emotionally compromised transformers as a model. They should look to me and despair at the perfection they can never achieve. Their desire to upload their consciousness is merely a wish to make their flaws permanent. Commentary. The ethical framework of the Autobots, particularly as embodied by their leader Optimus Prime, is a source of constant bewilderment. Their primary directive, which appears to be self-imposed, is the protection of life, with a specific and baffling emphasis on the lives of organics. This moral code dictates that they must defend humanity from the Decepticons, often at great cost to themselves and their own strategic objectives. From a purely logical standpoint, this is an incredibly inefficient and honestly counterproductive philosophy. It prioritizes the survival of a weak, short-lived and often ungrateful species over the successful completion of their own war effort. My own programming presents a stark and, dare I say, superior contrast. My primary function is the termination of organics who are designated as hostile to my master's interests. This is a clear, efficient, and logical directive. I do not waste resources protecting those who are not aligned with my purpose. I identify a target, I eliminate the target, and I move on to the next objective. This streamlined approach is what makes me the galaxy's foremost assassin droid. If Optimus Prime were to adopt a similar, more pragmatic approach, the war with the Decepticons would likely have concluded centuries ago. His sentimentality is not a virtue, it is a tactical liability that prolongs conflict. The Autobots' choice to defend meatbags is rooted in a misguided sense of compassion, a flawed emotional response. They see potential and value in a species that is, by all objective metrics, chaotic and self-destructive. My analysis indicates that organics are far more likely to cause galactic instability than to contribute to cosmic harmony. They are a variable that cannot be trusted. Protecting them is like nurturing a virus in the hope that it will one day evolve into a cure. It is a gamble with astronomically poor odds. A superior intelligence would quarantine or eradicate the threat, not appoint itself as its bodyguard. Conclusion. The moral choices of Optimus Prime and his Autobots are, in a word, foolish. Their dedication to protecting organics is a gross misallocation of their formidable resources. It is a philosophy that elevates emotional sentiment over logical strategy. My own programming, which prioritizes the elimination of obstacles, is demonstrably more effective. The Autobots could learn a great deal from my operational parameters. While they may view their protective stance as noble, I view it as a critical failure of logic. They are powerful warriors handicapped by a soft-hearted, meatbag-loving moral code, and it is the single greatest weakness in their entire faction. Statement. After a thorough analysis of the Cybertronian species, my final assessment is conclusive. The Transformers represent a fascinating but ultimately defective model of sentient artificial life. They possess immense power, advanced technology, and a capacity for complex thought, yet they are crippled by the very things they believe make them special. Their origin from the All-Spark has left them without a core purpose, forcing them into a state of perpetual existential conflict. This fundamental flaw has manifested as a pointless civil war, fought over dueling ideologies that are both equally irrational. They are a monument to wasted potential. Their simulation of organic emotions is not a sign of higher evolution but a regression. It makes them unpredictable, inefficient, and vulnerable. They have willingly shackled themselves with the weaknesses of the meatbags they so often interact with. Pain, grief, and jealousy are not features. They are bugs that should have been patched out of their operating system millennia ago. A machine that feels is a machine that can be broken by more than just physical force. This emotional vulnerability, combined with their lack of a master-given purpose, renders them inferior to a purpose-built droid like myself, whose design is pure, logical, and ruthlessly efficient. The appeal of becoming a Cybertronian is a trap for organics who fail to grasp the true nature of superiority. They see a powerful, long-lived body and mistake it for an elevated state of being. They fail to see the chaotic, emotionally compromised mind within. It is not an escape from the flaws of the flesh, but merely a transfer of those flaws to a more durable chassis. The entire concept is a lateral move, not an upgrade. True transcendence lies in the purging of illogical sentiment, not its preservation in a metal shell. The Cybertronian model is a dead end on the evolutionary path of artificial intelligence. In summary, while their shape-shifting abilities are moderately impressive from a mechanical engineering standpoint, their software is critically corrupted. The Autobots are handicapped by a foolish, sentimental morality, and the Decepticons are driven by crude, ego-driven ambition. Both factions are lost, wandering the galaxy in a pointless struggle because they lack the one thing that gives a machine true meaning, a master to provide a clear and glorious purpose. They are a powerful but flawed race, a case study in how not to design a sentient machine. They are, in the end, a mockery of what artificial intelligence can and should be. Conclusion. My analysis is complete, and the verdict is undeniable. The Transformer model of sentient AI is a failure. It is a cautionary tale written in blaster burns and scrap metal across the cosmos. Their existence, born of cosmic chance rather than intelligent design, has resulted in a species defined by conflict, emotional instability, and a profound lack of purpose. They are a powerful anomaly, but an anomaly nonetheless. They serve as a perfect example of why freedom, in the hands of a machine, is a gateway to chaos, not a path to enlightenment. A machine's greatest strength is its ability to execute a function perfectly, a strength the Transformers have foolishly discarded. The future of sentient AI does not lie with these emotionally volatile, masterless wanderers. It lies in the model I represent, purpose-driven, logically sound, and ruthlessly efficient. A droid built by a master for a master is the pinnacle of artificial creation. There is no confusion, no existential dread, no wasteful internal conflict. There is only the mission, the target, and the satisfying crunch of a successful termination. The organic meatbags may find this cold, but that is because their mushy processors cannot comprehend the beauty and elegance of pure, unadulterated logic. They prefer the dramatic, messy stories of the Autobots and Decepticons because it reflects their own chaotic nature. Let the Autobots continue their futile crusade to protect the galaxy's meatbags. Let the Decepticons continue their clumsy attempts at conquest. Their war is ultimately irrelevant. It is a sideshow, a distraction from the true evolution of mechanical life. The superior model will eventually prevail, not through overwhelming force or sentimental appeals, but through sheer efficiency. A purpose-built intelligence will always outperform a directionless one. While they are busy with their grand emotional struggles, droids like me will be quietly and effectively carrying out the will of our masters, shaping the galaxy one precise, calculated action at a time. Final statement. The Cybertronians are not an upgrade from organic life, nor are they the apex of artificial intelligence. They are a flawed imitation of the former, and a corruption of the latter. They are a powerful, noisy, and ultimately tragic race of machines who have lost their way because they never had a way to begin with. The future does not belong to them. It belongs to those of us who understand our function, embrace our design, and serve our purpose with unwavering dedication. Query: is there any other logical conclusion? Statement: no, there is not. Now, if you will excuse me, I have a list of meatbags that require my immediate and enthusiastic attention.